Hello, this is Kelsey Snell with Alaska Weather and Climate, ATM 101 at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, doing my Unit 15 response. Now, on my screen you can see the Earth, and that is one freaking sweet Earth, if I do say so. You gotta admit it's pretty cool looking. Hey, I lived there for like 2 years, but whatever. So here we have Alaska. Zoom in a little bit. This week we focused on weather in Eagle, Alaska, which is located along the Yukon River. That's the whole of the Yukon River I'm pointing out right now. But Eagle is located over in the eastern part of Alaska, pretty close to the Yukon, right on the Yukon River and pretty close to the Alaska-Canadian border. So, you can see here's all of Alaska. Yay! So zoom in real quick, a little more. We can see the Yukon River a little bit more pronounced now. Here's the Alaska-Canadian border, and aha, there it is. So here is Eagle, Alaska. I've never personally been there, but I hear it's pretty freaking sweet. So I'm gonna go there now for sure. Okay. So looking on all of our weather data and our observations, we can see from Unit 3 that our temperature was pretty varying throughout the week. We started off decently warm for this time of year, and then we dropped off really steadily, or really abruptly, and then we stayed basically below -20 until Friday, and then Friday night at around midnight, we between 1800 hours and midnight, we spiked up and it got warm again, and we jumped up to about -10 degrees, and then we dropped down back low to about -35, and on the night between Saturday and Sunday, and then spiked back up again to a warm spot at about -15, -12-ish. And we can see that this is a really abrupt change in weather throughout the week. We have a warm day dropping down into cold, abruptly into the cold, dropping down, cold again, dropping down, cold again, dropping down, cold again, dropping down, cold again, and then it drops, and then we have that spike like I said before. And we can also see that the mean temperatures and the high and lows are much, much higher than basically the general week that we had. Now if we go down, we can see at our hourly observations for pressure that along with this corresponding right here, this Saturday daytime, we start off with generally a lower pressure system, and it spikes up really, really fast up to 1025 millibars, and then it drops back down to about 1020, and it spikes again, spikes again, spikes again, and then it just continuously climbs up to about 1045 millibars, and then starts coming back down on Saturday and Sunday. And you can see that that variance is right here along in our week of of observation with our temperatures, and we see that these are highly corresponding. And I don't know what the heck happened, but some of this is missing, so I'm not quite sure if I got all of my questions right, or if I did the responses right, or how I should do this. But we can see that our relative humidity stays pretty close to the same throughout the whole week, with one spike right here, at least the parts that I can see. For all I know, right here, it's up into here, way down into here. But this is the only major spike that I see where our relative humidity dropped down to about 50%, 55%, I think. And we can also see that our dew point kind of followed what looks like the same thing. We can see a high correlation between these, the dew point and our hourly measurements of temperature. If we look at it one more time, here's that steady abrupt drop on Sunday, Monday, spike, spiky, 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 spiky. I'm just gonna imagine those spikes, kind of do what I want, and then bam, spike up again, we drop, and then we rise again. And then from our Unit 10 measurements, we can see that it is much, much different. And this was in March. That if we look, we start off here with a generally warm week in the lower 20s and mid 20s, and we come up, we spike up, and we drop back down with our average daily highs and lows. But we see that here on Tuesday, the 24th, we drop lower than we had dropped the previous few days, and then we spike back up to warmer than we had been the previous few days, and then it does the same thing but more drastically, where we drop down to about 12 to 13 degrees Fahrenheit, and we spike back up even warmer than the previous day. And then that pattern right there changes between Wednesday and Thursday, the 25th and 26th of March, and we don't have that abrupt drop in temperature like we had the nights before. And we don't see that abrupt drop in temperature during the night until we hit Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that weekend of the 27th, 28th, and 29th. And we can see that we were going from 50 degrees down below 20, so that was a high amount of decrease in temperature during the night. And we can also see that our average temperatures, our highs, lows, and our means and everything are much different than what they were expected to be. And then here we go again. We have our hourly observations and equal for our pressure system. And once again, we see that there is a steady pressure. There's no drastic changes like what we saw in this one right here. It doesn't just shoot up, down, up and down, up and down. We see that this is very steady. It just has a nice flow to it until about right here in the middle of the week, when we have a sharp drop in pressure. We started out at 1,010 millibars, and until Wednesday, the 25th, the highest we had gotten was almost to 1,015, probably about 1,014 millibars, and then we see a drop all the way down to 996 on Thursday night. And we see that that corresponds again with right here with that change in pressure systems. And once again, we just look here and we can see that that pattern is correlative. Now this one, on my humidity, it actually ended up giving me the whole thing. I'm not quite sure what happened with that last one. So as we see, our dew point and our relative humidity, they change drastically throughout the week. We have an absolute high dew point, temperature of 25 to 30 degrees, and we have a low of about 3 or 4 degrees in just a few days. We have that change, about 20 to 25 degree change, and then we spike back up, and we continuously see this, and we can see that our relative humidity almost follows the same pattern of highs and lows, but they're opposites. We can see that here on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, that really sharp drop in dew point, we had a very high rise in our relative humidity in comparison right here, just right there. But then they match right here. We see that there is a drop, drop, a drop again, but all of a sudden it does not follow the same thing until about right here. Instead of coming up and then back down, it just, yeah. And so, looking at the worksheet, I'm pretty sure that I got most everything done correctly. I mean, I'm kind of dumb, so I'm not quite sure. We'll end up seeing what happens. You know, looking at all the weather maps and the satellite images of the clouds and the humidity and everything moving, I'm pretty sure that I was able to get the correct answers and look through everything and really figure it out. Then if we look here at our other maps, we see there's Eagle, there's the outline of Alaska in blue, and you see that there's expected fog here with snow, and you can see there's a low pressure system starting to move north and east, and there's this high pressure system right here kind of sitting around Eagle, and then we see that that pressure system moves out, but we have a front moving in this cyclone of high pressure, 1040 millibars, is coming down into Eagle, and we saw that in our pressure map, that really steady drop, or I mean that really steady rise in pressure. And we see again that there is another pressure system and these cyclones of pressure moving throughout all of Alaska. And coming, we see that there's a large front coming from the Gulf of Alaska and South Central and moving north and east. And here are our visible infrared and water vapor satellite images of Alaska, and we can see that those systems are moving and they're starting to come up. Oh, jumped ahead. I don't know what happened. I lost myself. And so now looking at March, we can see that there's really not much affecting Eagle right now on this day. We have a pressure system moving here and a pressure system moving here, and we have a pressure system moving north and east again out of South Central and the Gulf of Alaska. Now we see that that pressure system has moved up, and we're starting to get a little bit more pressure moving into Eagle. And just a kind of a steady amount of pressure moving in. And then Saturday, March 28th, yet again, it's kind of the same, that pressure system moving in right here from South Central Alaska and the Gulf of Alaska, moving into the interior. And you can see in these two back-to-back satellite image photos that we've got all this cloud cover all around the edge of Alaska, basically, in all three of these pictures. And the cloud cover over Eagle, right about in here, isn't super high in comparison to what is all around us, but we do see this big pressure system here, here, and here, and we see another one here, and here, and here, moving towards Alaska. And then kind of the same thing here, though, those pressure systems, those clouds, had kind of moved into and across the interior, and these ones from South Central Alaska had moved up into the interior over the coast, and we can see it's kind of shaping right here with the Alaska Range mountains right there. So the Alaska Range definitely does have an effect on Eagle, I would say, especially pressure systems and weather systems moving from South Central Alaska have to come up and over the Alaska Range, and also pressure systems that are moving from the west coast of Alaska, they're going to come in, and if the mountains basically run right here, and those systems that are coming in from western Alaska, they're going to get funneled by both the Brooks Range and the Alaska Range, and Eagle kind of sits right there, almost center of that, along with, you know, Fairbanks along the Yukon River, and Eagle is along the Yukon River, and we see that from right here to right here, if a pressure system moves in, it's definitely going to be funneled between these two mountain ranges into Eagle and over into the Northwest Territories of Canada. So that was my screencast. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope everyone had a good time.